His hands were as callous as sandpaper. He had a broken thumb and nails, and his hands were strong, but they were kind of a little crooked here and there. But I remember his hands being callous and like sandpaper. I was a little boy, and I would sit in my dad's lap, and I'd look at his hands and feel them and rub them and look at them and see the purple in the nails or the cracks in there. And that was from his years as growing up as a boy and working on the farm and doing all those things. And it reminded me the other day because my little one was playing with my hands and looking at them and comparing it to his hands. The big difference, though, is my dad's hands were like sandpaper. Mine were like the rear end of a baby's bottom. So very smooth. You know, it's been, I would say, 40 plus years since I held a hoe or a shovel in my hand. And the chances, the times that I do get a shovel or a hammer in my hand, my wife will say, "You put that down because it's going to cost us a lot more." Isn't that right? Yeah, that is truly right. Those hands of someone who's worked hard in the fields or like a carpenter or a stonemason person or fishermen as they're reeling in their nets or fixing them or doing all those things, their hands are worn and weathered and callous from all the work they've done. Rowing the boats, being out on the lake, fishing all night. And they're rowing with all their might. It's a storm, and they are rowing and rowing and rowing and not getting anywhere. Jesus commanded them. He told them after the feeding of the 5,000, he called his disciples together. Most of them were fishermen, and he said, "You need to go to the other side. You need to go to the other side." And he calls them, commands them to go. And they do. And they row, and they row, and they row. They've been on the lake for all their lives, a lot of them. They know how to fish. They know what storms look like. And they know it's scary. They know it's chaotic on the water at times. And it's in the middle of the night. And he calls them to go into the storm. It's not like Jesus didn't know anything. I mean, he is the one who healed the sick, healed the blind to see, called the lame to walk, fed the 5,000 out of nothing. And he calls them to go into the storm. An opposition, and not just a regular storm, but a storm that is full of chaos and a storm that terrifies these weathered fishermen with their lives. They've been through other storms. They were in a storm in chapter 8 with Jesus. Jesus is he's in the bow of the boat and he's asleep, and there's a storm that's engulfing them, overwhelming them, water about to sink the boat, and they're crying out, "Hey, wake up! Save us!" Like an echo from Jonah, right? And Jesus wakes up and he stands and he says, "Be still." And all of creation is still. That chaos, those forces that oppose, he calls them to be still. And they will say, "Who is this? Who is this that can calm the seas, that can still creation?" And so here they are in this scene. They're rowing and rowing, and they're getting nowhere. The winds are pushing them back. They're being opposed. If I was in the boat, I would say, let's go back. I saw La Quinta on the side over here. We could just kind of wait it out, right? Or they would probably wonder, why is he sending us out into the middle of a storm? He knows what's happening. And yet Jesus commands them to go into the storm, into that area that the wind blows against us, and we're getting nowhere, and we're terrified to death, and we're exhausted, and we're hoping for relief. Terrified. You ever been there? You ever wonder what's on the other side, because it doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. It seems like this is it, and I'm ready to give up. I am just plain tuckered out. I had lunch with a friend the other day. Had gone through some incredible stuff, tough stuff that you would never think about in your life. And he said, Scott, about a month after all of that, I just thought, I just want to give up. I just want to stop. I just want to sink. But God took hold of him, changed his life. As they're pushing and wailing against the storm, they see a figure come. They see a figure come that they're so terrified and they're so anxious, they can't see straight, and they think it's a demon. They think it's a ghost. They think it's something there to even push them farther back, and they will scream in terror. And Jesus walks in the middle of them and says, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Take heart. I am. I am. I am. Only God walks on the water. Only God treads upon the seas and the ocean. Only God calms things. Only God walks on the head of the Leviathan that seeks to destroy you. It's all through the Psalms. It's all through Isaiah. It's all through Job. God is the one who treads, and God is the one who calms. And he says, I am. Take heart. And so Peter, like he always does, the first one to speak, he said, Lord, if it's you, call me to come to you. Who else is walking on the water right in the middle of the night? Peter's the only one who's defied physics besides Jesus to get out of the boat and to walk on water. I've been to that sacred space, Sea of Galilee, Lake Gennesaret, whatever it's called. 30 years ago, I was in Israel with a few of my friends. And it was calm and peaceful. We had gone on a private boat with a few of us, and it was gorgeous. You could see the mountains all around. And it's serene until these windsurfers in their Speedos came sailing by. And I thought, okay, that's very different. And you get to shore, and they have these T-shirts that say, Jesus surfed here, or Peter surfed here, and, come eat the St. Peter's fish 2-for-1 deal, all that kind of stuff. If you get a chance to go, you should go, though. It's spectacular. But Peter will get out of the boat, and he will say, Lord, tell me it's you, and if it's you, I will come, because only you can give me the power to walk. And he does. He walks toward Jesus, and he will come walking toward Jesus until he sees the wind that just totally distracts him and moves him off his focus, and he will start to sink like a rock. And then he tells Jesus, "Save me! I've got all these gift cards that I can give you, right?" No. I've got a WWJD bracelet. I've got my pledge card. I've got my 30 days of devotional every day. I've done. Save me! He didn't say that. He just says, save me. It's a simple plea. We complicate it so much by trying to add all these things and gussy it up. He just says, save me. And what does Jesus do? He doesn't chastise him. He doesn't say, buckle up, buttercup, get tough, sink a little bit and I'll pick you up, the tough love. Jesus reaches out his hand and grabs him from a watery death and pulls him up. Peter doesn't reach out. Peter doesn't grab hold. It says Jesus grabs hold, his hand. The hand that was there at creation in the garden. The hand that moved Israel out of Egypt. The hand that put mud in a blind man's eye to heal him. The hand that tells a paralytic to get up, or a leper to be clean, or the hand that is nailed to the cross for us, or the hand that shows the scars to his disciples and Thomas to say, I have the power over life and death. I'm the resurrection. That's the hand that grabs hold of Peter and pulls him up. And they get into the boat, and what do? They worship him. They worship him. We can go a few months to talk about that. That's a radical view. They will worship him. The first time in the boat, when he calmed the seas, they said, who is this that has the power to calm and still the seas? And in this scene, they will say, truly, you are the very Son of God, and they will worship him. The story isn't about Peter and about taking courage and then taking a step and then being all distracted and all these kind of things, or about the other disciples. It sort of is. It sort of is about the disciples. It's about that some of them stayed in the boat, but it's about all of them. All of them. And all of us will sink straight down into our watery death. And there's no power, there's no special thing that we can do to save ourselves. It's as simple as, Jesus, save me. And the hand of all of creation, the hand on the cross, the hand that is resurrected, has the power to pull us out of the watery grave. And that's our call. That's our call. To allow him to do that. And to be a church that is willing to give it all up. And to listen and call to the one and only one who can save us. Amen.